guess we're starting because I started talking. That was my fault. All right, well, so I'm Gabriel DiMartino, if we haven't met. Nice to meet you. I teach at East Carolina University. I'm supposed to say that for legal reasons. And I actually grew up around here. Of course, my dad is Vince, and you saw him a bunch earlier this week. He's a great trumpet player. I'm not that great, but I've been around him a lot, so I know lots of stuff that not everybody knows. And so mostly my experience has been about trying to figure out how these people who are so great do the things that they do. Or, that's a bad way to say it. I started out trying to do that, and it's really hard because they do stuff like, for instance, my dad will say stuff like, he'll say, oh yeah, Gabriel, we're going to play a recital on Tuesday. And I go, okay, what are we playing? Well, I don't know, what do you want to play? Okay, well, give me some more parameters. What are we talking about? Oh, well, you know, Skylar Robinson is an organist, and he's going to play piano for us, and you know, just whatever you want to do. You know, stuff that Skylar knows would be great. I'm like, okay, what does Skylar know? Oh, you know, he knows all the normal stuff. Like, all right, so you know, for him, it's like, well, he knows, I don't know, off the top of his head, he could probably sight read 60 or 120 or 180 pieces, and he could just play them, and they would be great. And you'd say, wow, that was he must have practiced that. But as he demonstrated during his master class, no, he didn't need to. He just knows it already. He could just play it. So it wasn't very much help for me to try to figure out what they do, because a lot of them don't do anything that I need to do. They just do it. They just it seems like they're just great. Like Jens, you know, he can just go on stage and have not rehearsed and have not played that cup mute ever before in his life, and he can just sound great on it. I can't do that. So for like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years in the middle of my life so far, I was real frustrated all the time because I would get these like emergency calls that were like, oh yeah, well this week you're going to play with Doc Severinsen on stage in front of 30,000 people. And I'm like, well, okay, I guess I can't say no to that, but also, are you kidding me? Like, what are we playing? I don't even know what to play. Did I bring the right trumpets? I mean, I don't know what, you know, so, and I wouldn't say frustrating, except it is like if you don't know what you're doing. And so a lot of my time has been spent trying to, well, like I said, I'm a teacher, and so I try to help other people, but mostly I've just been trying to help myself all these years, try to figure out how to hang with these guys that, you know, the pinnacle of my career already happened, which was that I got to play on stage with Doc and Al Vizzuti and my dad all at the same time, with about, I don't know, a dozen of my dad's former students who are all really great trumpet players too, playing in a trumpet ensemble behind us. And so that was like, I'm not going to do better than that. So, you know, that's it. Right? I mean, come on. You know, there's other people to play with, and there's other concerts, but that's still going to always be a huge, huge highlight. And so a lot of my time has been spent like, okay, what do I have to do that they don't need to do maybe, or that they did already, or whatever, that is going to help me hang with them and just not embarrass myself. And so that's kind of what today's class is about, in a weird way. So there's lots of data points that you can sort of measure to try to figure out how great people do great things. And like I said at the beginning, it doesn't always really help because they're not always doing the things that led them up to that. Jens's class was great, or both of his classes, because he's talking about exactly what he's doing right now. And what we can all do, right? Those long tone exercises, I was going to call it 20 pitches, which is an old IT Cheat Junior exercise from like 20 years ago. But the concentration exercise, what do you call it? Those are really great things to do, and that he still does, and that you guys can all do. I mean, we all did do. But there's some other things that I think we can measure that help us get closer to that sort of golden standard. And so mostly what I wanted to talk about today, this is also like my only masterclass time, so I'm going to like try to soapbox all my stuff or shoehorn all my soapbox stuff into this little time. So a lot of times I get to do a warm-up class because I'm like a little bit infamous for using timers. I use this talking timer here. You can get one of these on Amazon for about $11 or $9. It's just called the talking timer because the lady talks to you if you know, I think I can make her talk. Yeah, she talks. I don't like her for her to talk because it takes too long when you're trying to play. They're like, oh wait, I have to stop and listen. What is it? Okay, it's 30 seconds left, right? But it has a count up and a count down timer. And what I used to do is I'd set the count down timer because everybody says you should practice, you should rest just as much as you practice, right? So half the time that you're practicing, you should be resting. And that makes sense. But for this particular class, I prepared something a little different, which is I've been. How many people in here have a practice journal? This is my practice journal. Everybody should have one. If you, you know, I mean, I guess if you don't do anything else, or if you practice sort of just for fun, then you know you don't have to do it. But it's a really great catalyst to get better, right? It's a good way to. All you have to do is keep track of kind of what you're up to, right? For instance, I didn't write down yesterday yet, did I? I did some. I warmed up with everybody, right? And we did long tones and flow studies and concentration studies. And then at 3 p.m. I went in the practice room and practiced the Tut Hill Sonata. And in this case, I just described what I did. I sort of did unfocused practice where I sang a lot, and then I would just play when I felt confident about my singing, then I'd play. So I rested a lot more than I played because I knew I couldn't overdo it. And then I didn't write down, then I came back here after the recital and played for about a half hour before I went home. So that needs to go in there. But a lot of times what I'll do instead is I'll write down, I would show it to you, but you can't see. But I'll write down like the amount of minutes that I did something and the amount of minutes that I rest. And so what I've been doing, instead of a countdown timer that exactly halves my time, you know, what you do normally is you'd set it for a minute, let's say, or 5 minutes or 3 minutes. And every time it beeps, you either start or stop playing, right? You just obey the timer. It's external discipline. It's great. I did that for a lot of years, and even down to I have like a high-intensity interval training timer on here, and you can program that to be whatever times you want. It's great. I'll talk to you about it if you want. But what I found with that is that when the timer beeps and it's time to play, you feel like it's time to play. Like, I better play this whole 5 minutes. And that's not always healthy. Especially if you're using the phone, you know, on the phone it'll tell you, like, I can set it up to say, okay, do violin page 1, you know, the first violin. If you don't know it, it's just easy slurs. And that I might give myself 4 minutes to do that. So I better do like solid violin for 4 minutes, and as soon as I get done with one, I have to go to the next one, and if I finish all of them, I guess I'll start over, and then okay, now it's time to rest. Okay, so and it is good to rest your concentration, but then maybe the next one is fast slurs, and so I feel obligated to do that the whole time. But you know, what if I'm a little hurt from yesterday? What if I played too much? What if I had a recital? What if I was on the road for 2 days and I couldn't play, and so I'm not really ready for that intense of a warm-up, right? So it's good to be flexible, I think, with your warm-up. And so what I prepared for you today? Well, I prepared a list of practice sessions that I've had in the last month, let's say. It's not, I didn't log every single thing. It's probably about 2 weeks worth of actual days here. But what I found, so what I did was I used the count up timer on this, and I just would start it and start playing and do whatever I want. So my warm-up right now, for me, starts with a tuba mouthpiece, and I would just start the timer. This isn't going to be, yeah, I think so. I would just start the timer, and I would try to, you know, pretty good on tuba this morning, so put that away. Get out the trombone mouthpiece. That's pretty good, I guess. So, normally I do a lot more, so then it'd be bass trumpet. Finally cutout. If you don't have a cutout, these are great. This is the first one out of so far that I would recommend everybody do. And so yeah. And so there we go. And I would do maybe it takes me 5 minutes some mornings. Maybe it takes me 8 minutes. On the third, it took me 6.5 minutes. With a metronome, I used a metronome that day. And anyway, the point being that that took me 1.5 minutes. So I would write down 1.5 minutes, and then I would just start it again and walk away for a little while and just wait till I feel rested. And what I found out is, by doing this the whole practice session through, that I don't actually, when I have really good practice sessions, I don't even play half the time. I play like about 1/3 of the time, and then I rest 2/3 of the time. Now that doesn't mean my rest is useless. It just means that I'm not physically playing like every possible second. My best days, I'd split into 2 sections that I would have warm-up that maybe lasted an hour to 90 minutes of time in the world, and I would play about, like I said, about 1/3 of that time, just real relaxed. And now, like Jen said, we're really talking about a routine now, right? We're not talking, it doesn't take me an hour to warm. I feel warmed up now. But just to get everything calibrated and everything situated, yeah, maybe it takes an hour to an hour and a half of time, which means I've only played 20 to 30 minutes, right, of actual on-the-face playing. But I've been really thoughtful about every one of those things. And then later in the day, I will maybe have like a half hour where I play 20 minutes. So I'm playing like 66% of that time. And it's really intense, but I'm getting some really great practice done on the Tuthill Sonata, for instance, or the Kennan I have coming up, or the Vizzuti Sonata, or I'm going to play, what am I playing tonight? Oh, Henza. Whatever is coming up, right? And that can be a little more intense because now I'm like really looking hard at like, I have to learn this music and I have to play well, and I want to build in the best kind of habits when I play it. But I've already built those habits all day, right? And so, and then there's a big long rest in between. So if you actually measured my whole day, I'm probably, I don't know, playing between the first notes and the last notes. I might be playing 1/10 of the time, right? And I think that's important because most people don't practice that way. Most people, I would imagine, especially if you're in school, you know, you find a 2-hour block sometime during the day, right? You get in the practice room, get out your horn, you do whatever your teacher tells you to do as a warm-up, and as soon as you're done warming up, then you get out some music that you feel like you need to practice for your lesson or for band or for a gig you've got coming up, and you start looking at that, and then you feel a little tired, so maybe you go to the bathroom and, you know, get some water and, you know, take like a 2-minute break and come back in and hit it hard again for 10 minutes, and, you know, then you're really tired, and so you take like a 5-minute break and, you know, come back in there and then hit it hard again for, now it's like 6 minutes, you know, and it gets worse and worse. And then, you know, it's not always built on the best playing either, because a lot of it is tired. You know, and another one of the things we heard this week is always play fresh, right? In other words, don't overdo it. And we also heard practice when you're tired, right? Like after the gig. Yeah, totally. That you're trying to put things together in the right way when you have time. But again, it's in a relaxed fashion. If you try to cram your practice in, it just makes you worse. Trust me, I know. The job that I have now, I love to tell the story, and they hate it that I tell the story, because it makes it sound like they don't know what they're doing, which it's yet to be seen. But yeah, I was practicing really hard for the Hummel. I was going to do the Hummel in E with this orchestra, and so I was going to play it in D on a D trumpet. And I didn't know how to do that, so I was working really hard on it, and I was doing these 2-hour-long routines that would get me ready for that. And like with my endurance, because I also had to play organ symphony with the orchestra after that. I was part of the orchestra, so I was like a guest soloist, pop out, and then I had to go back and sit and play. So I needed a lot of endurance, and then this audition came up, and so then I was like, well, I've got to play a piccolo piece, I've got to play a cornet solo, I've got to play, I guess I could play the Hummel, and I better play something else. And so I put together this impossible recital for like a half hour, and then tried to go play it, and just totally folded. I mean, it was like the worst. And it was because in over 2 years, really, I'd been doing this routine that was really regimented against a timer, and like, this 5 minutes you will be doing mouthpiece buzzing. This 3 minutes you will be doing cutout, right? And it didn't tell me what to do, but it did tell me that I needed to be doing it. So I was kind of always playing in a skid, just like 0.2% worse every day over 2 years, right? And so by the time that all added up in February of that year, or January, I think it was, I just couldn't. I could play. When you heard me play, it sounded great, and then it would just be air balls. So it'd be like 8 minutes of great playing, and then air balls for 2 minutes, and then I needed to rest 2 more minutes, and then I could play like 4 minutes of really great playing, like anything, and then just crash and burn. So, so this is a better way to do it. You can go backwards. In other words, reverse engineer it from. Oh yeah, you know, sometimes you don't have to rest as much as you played, right? If I just did those big mouthpieces, which I guess I should explain, but we'll get into it. If I just did those big mouthpieces, I don't really need to rest very much right after that. I don't want to rest too much. I don't want to lose what I gained from that. I want to get into the trumpet right away. If I just did my high range exercise, I need to rest a little more, and that goes back to maybe that capillary. Anybody? Refill. That's the. I was going to say reflux, and I was like, no, that's the thing. That's the other thing. Capillary reflux probably is really bad. Yeah. So capillary refill time, right? That I'm pressing really hard and sort of, you know, doing a little bit of damage in my high range exercise, but just trying to calibrate things. So yeah, you need a little rest after that, and you need to find that out about yourself. That's really what's personal. The things that we actually have to do on the trumpet, I think maybe this is controversial, and I'm sure when we get to the panel discussion tomorrow, you'll hear just how controversial all my statements tend to be. I don't try to do it, I really swear. Sometimes I just, you know, don't agree. But I think we really ought to do really similar things because we're all playing the same instrument, right? Look, people love to say like, oh, well, you know, everybody's different, and you know, to each his own, and play whatever mouthpiece you want, play whatever trumpet you want. And those are all true statements, you know. I like different trumpets than my dad likes by like a huge margin. I can play his trumpets and I kind of like them, but you know, not for very long. And he can play mine and sound great on them, but he doesn't like the architecture of what sets up there, and so he can't play them for very long either. So you know, yeah, to each his own. But the types of things that we're doing, any B-flat trumpet is really not that different from any other B-flat trumpet. You know, they're the same basic shape. They're definitely the same length, I hope. You know, and the mouthpieces, if you think about how different the mouthpieces are, you might say, oh yeah, my shallow mouthpiece is really different than my deep mouthpiece. Yeah, but you know, compared to trombone, is it really all that different? I mean, the ratios are like, maybe it's 10% different at the most. And that's really just not that different. And then rim size, like what's the difference between a 1.5 C rim and, I play a straight 8. So can you guess the difference between a straight 8 and a 1.5 C in terms of inner diameter? Does anybody know? It's a millimeter. Exactly 1 millimeter. Well, maybe a little extra, depending on the model. But it's just not that much, right? So, okay, let's talk about these big mouthpieces, and then we're going to warm up together. So why do I do this, and why shouldn't you? Well, let's start with that. You shouldn't because it's dangerous. There are dangerous things that are good for you. I do these things because it helps me calibrate the outer sort of ring of muscles out here that I want to be part of my embouchure, right? If I don't want those, you can play in such a way as to try to stay relaxed. That's a philosophy of playing that people have, and I don't disagree with that. I think relaxed sounds pretty good. I was relaxed on the couch last night, eating some way too much pimento cheese, because, well, that's the only thing in my dad's house that I can eat. And they weren't home, so I ate all the cheese. What are they going to do? Oh, this is on video. Oh, maybe you didn't set it up. Yeah. Dad, if you're watching, you still have a whole other thing of cheese left. Okay, but yeah, you can try to stay really relaxed, right? We like that. So I can just breathe and blow, and let's have everybody do this. I'll demonstrate, and so my favorite note's B. I like to start on B. So I can start, and I can just go, try to keep a reposed embouchure, all right? Sound that's sort of, you know, not anything special, I would say, but it's real relaxed. And hey, we're warming up, right? It's 8 in the morning. It's 8:20 in the morning, so I'm not going to overdo it, right? I want to just start out slow, and I want to make sure that I'm getting something that I want. So now, am I endorsing this as a good warm-up method? No, but I'm not refuting it either, right? I'm saying this is the thing that people want, so let's all get it. It's real easy, so we may as well try. Right, so just breathe and blow, and we'll do it together, right? We're all going to play B in the staff, and all I want to do is just a breath attack, right? And you're just going to worry about breathing in and then blowing that air right into a nice concentrated stream that comes out B, and not worry too much about your lip. All right, here we go. So we're starting to warm up now. Now that's not how I choose to sort of set up my embouchure. I want a little bit more muscle involvement further out, and I've noticed that when I play these bigger mouthpieces, it helps me set that up. So if that's a B, an A concert, then I'll try to get sort of like a C to C, like C to pedal C on this thing, because it helps me get these muscles ready to go, but it keeps these muscles from engaging, right? This part's vibrating now, so I can't muscle out the notes. Right, this is all in motion, and so it helps me with these, not with these. And you might think, well, why would I want these? I don't know. Helps me do other things that I can't do without those things, right? So so why am I telling you all this? Well, we're going to get into a real warm-up now, but I do these bigger mouthpieces because there's something that I want from them, right? And I know exactly what it is, and I know exactly how to get it. I just need these things to calibrate it, right? I need to walk my way through. My favorite one is I do this one where, let's see, I'll have to, these are not good platforms for this. Well, I'll do my best. I try to walk my way through the mouthpieces like this. Here, I'll have to sort of just kneel down, and you'll see. Right. Let's see that. So on, right? So, like, what is that doing? Well, it's making sure that these are the muscles that are in control of my aperture, not right in here, right? And what does that do for me? Well, it means that if these don't have to control my aperture, they can do other stuff, right? Like they can control color, they can change the roll of my lip, they can help control intonation a little bit, they can help get response, they can engage what I call the reflection of the trumpet, which is sort of the overall resistance that you get out of the compression, right? If you think of this thing as a big long tube, you can also think of it as like a bottle that has a hole in it, right? So if you blow into a bottle, right, then immediately it fills up with air, and that air is compressed, and it blows back at you, right? Make sense? Okay, so now that bottle has a hole in it, but you can still blow hard enough that it generates that same compression. It's just leaking out the other side at the same time. And that's the resistance that we feel. That's the compression that we feel, and the way that we play around the horn. So I really want that as a part of my, that way the trumpet's doing the work. I don't have to like do it here, right? So if my aperture is controlled by this ring of muscles out here, then that means the inside can worry about engaging that reflection, and then I'm locked in, and the trumpet just plays itself, right? That sounds pretty good, right? I mean, hopefully. And you're like, no, I like to do the work. I think it builds character, which it does actually. But anyway, so yeah, so that's why I do all that stuff. Should you do it? Well, no. Why? Because most of us are sensation-based players, right? In other words, we really care about how the mouthpiece feels on our face. We care about whether or not we feel like we are pliable enough to play up and down on the horn, and we don't have a good sense of that reflection and how we lock into. A lot of people will talk about like the standing wave, lighting up the standing wave physics that are happening inside the horn, and then other people say, oh, well, there's lots of other standing waves in the braces, and yeah, you can know a lot about all that stuff, and I try to, but basically, yeah, if we're not really familiar with a sensation that we're always going for that's the same across the whole register, then we're going to be playing somewhat by sensation, and that's okay, we should, but you have to forego that sensation when you play other mouthpieces. That's why when I play the F alto trumpet, I play bass trumpet mouthpiece, and especially on a job like on the jazz concert the first night, I have to be very careful about how long I play it and how hard I play on it, right? If I play, like, I was really trying to, I don't know if you noticed, but the last tune that I played it on, I was desperately trying to get someone to play the melody again, because I was the last soloist, and I was like, okay, I've played 8 choruses now, and I would really like to not play 9. And I kept looking over and like, no, okay, I guess I'll play one more. And then I finally got somebody's attention, I can't remember who started to come in. And then, but like, it was just a little late, so I was like, oh, I gotta play 10 now. Okay, I gotta play one more, and then I'm just gonna stop. But like, because I could feel it sort of digging into my chops, that this big rim, I was starting to feel like I needed to feel it, you know. I wasn't really engaging that horn anymore, and so it was time to get out. So it's dangerous, is what I'm saying. Don't go get a tuba mouthpiece and a trombone mouthpiece and then ruin your career and then call me and sue me or whatever. I'm telling you not to do those things. But everything's a useful tool. And so where I'm going with all this, and where I want to go with you all today, is the most important thing you can do is have a purpose for everything that you do. That's as simple as it gets, right? Don't do anything for no reason. If you want to be warmed up, well, you all just played a B together. You're pretty warmed up now. Honestly. I mean, that's about all it takes. We play a little bit and then rest a little bit. Your lips will think, oh, I've got to swell up a little because we're going to do this all day. We're going to traumatize this part of my face, and I need to be ready for that. And so then your lip will swell just that little bit that it needs to feel warmed up, and now you're ready. And you might say, well, no, I don't feel ready yet. Okay, well then do a couple of lip slurs. You'll be ready, right? 2-3 minutes tops, warmed up. But that's not always what we mean by warmed up, right? Jens was talking about this. He was saying, like, well, it doesn't take you an hour to warm up. That's like a routine. It is. That is a routine. But a routine is sometimes a good way to, if you have the time and you have the chops to do it, you know, in other words, you don't have a recital that day, yeah, then a routine is good because it helps you calibrate all of the things that you need to do, and it sets in motion a pattern that will be good tomorrow, right? If I calibrate my ability to sort of move around the horn, and that's easy for me today, then when I pick it up tomorrow, some of that will remain, and then I'll just try to get back to that, right? And then I get that better and better every day, and you know, hopefully it ends up adding up to something that's, oh yeah, I couldn't play this piece 10 years ago, but now I can because my trumpet playing is better. Which again, it's nice to be this late in the week, because I can say, yeah, my dad said that already, or yeah, Jens said that already, or you know, whoever. But yeah, that's what my dad was saying. A lot of his talk was about, that your trumpet playing has to be ready for anything. And so that's what really I think a routine is about, making sure that your trumpet playing is ready for just about anything. Okay, so let's get into it. What do we want? What do we want to get? Because like I just said, right, we want a vector for, I need to be trying to get something done, right? So what do we want? How do we want to play? Like today, what do we want to end up with at the end of in a half hour? Anybody? Just any values that you have. This is my point, is that we have to have some sort of value vector, right? I can't just be like, I don't know, I want to feel warmed up. Right? That's no good. So what do I want? What do I want this thing to do? What do I want me to be able to do? Or and.
Have a good sound.
Good, yeah, I want a good sound. How do I know what a good sound is?
You ask a buddy.
Ask somebody. Well, sure. I mean, did we hear some good sounds last night, maybe? Yeah, so we're all pretty fresh on what a good sound sounds like. Yeah, you get that by listening, right? And you can tell a good sound from a bad sound. Lots of people don't tell a good sound from a bad sound. They tell me their favorite trumpet players, and they go, "Really, those guys? Oh, okay. I guess they sound terrible, but okay, sure." And then other times, they say somebody go, "I don't even know who that is," and I look them up and I go, "Oh, that is a good sound. Okay, yeah. Add that to the list, right?" So yeah, listening is real important. But yeah, I want a good sound. I want this thing to sound good when I play it at the end of my warm up. All right, that's a good thing. What else?
Flexibility.
Okay, yeah. It's great if I can sound good on one note, but that has a limited use. So I need to be able to move that around. I need to be able to play different notes with a good sound. Okay, what else? I mean, I guess in one way that could cover it, right? I can play lots of notes with a good sound. All right, well we'll talk through it as we go. What are some things that people do first in their warm-up? Like I said, I can be real regimented about this. I have like literal lists of things that I do in order, and maybe that's what you're looking for, but sorry, I'm not going to give it to you. I can give it to you anytime. I mean, I can email you a list of, here's what I do for a warm-up. And I have an idea of what I'd like to get done today, but what are some things that people do to start? Go ahead.
Long tones.
Yeah, long tones are great. What else? Anything?
Mouthpiece buzzing.
Yeah. Anything if we're looking at it like by stepping back away from what is eventually like playing the Hummel, I hear someone doing right now. Yeah, long tones are like maybe the simplest thing I can do on the trumpet, right? One note at a time. Mouthpiece buzzing is like, I call it proto-trumpet playing, right? It's not trumpet playing, but it might help. And it's before trumpet. So anything else? Yeah.
Lip slurs.
I can do lip slurs for sure. I would put that after long tones, right? It's as far as like one note, multiple notes. Mouthpiece buzzing. Anything before mouthpiece buzzing? Yeah, for sure listening. But maybe more practically that I can do.
Breathing exercises.
I can do breathing, yeah. Oh, sorry. Singing. Breathing, yeah. Absolutely all these things. Okay, so let's do some of them. Let's start with breathing, because that's something we should all be good at. If you're not, you're dead. Sorry. So, let's breathe, and let's do, I've got a nice little metronome here. All right, let's do, breathing gym is a really great thing. I don't do it because I don't own it, and the marching band at ECU does it, so that my students already all know it, so I don't need to. Sometimes I'll do like a hyperventilation exercise. Again, it's a thing that I don't recommend everybody do because you can pass out, and if you don't know what you're doing, it's like passing out's bad. It's always bad, but preventing yourself from passing out is what you need to know. So what we're going to do right now is just an easy in and out, but we need a value system always, right? We can't just, we're not going to just do breathing exercises. That doesn't have a value. I mean, except that you're still alive, which you don't need an exercise for, right? So we're gonna focus on the quality of everything that we do, so that it is absolutely perfect. And this is maybe more than you need to know, but it'll come back over and over again. And that is that you never. Jens said that when you make a mistake, that's when you really learn something, and that's absolutely true. But there's also the converse of that, which is that a lot of times we just kind of go at something willy-nilly, and we don't have really a qualitative, like we don't have something we're trying to do except I want to get these notes. And failing in that way gives you a lot less information than if you try to do something that you have a reasonable chance of doing really perfectly and then failing, right? So what we always want to do is try to take really thoughtful steps that are exactly one step closer to our goal, that we feel like, oh yeah, I could totally do this right now perfectly. There's nothing really stopping me from getting this right now, right? And then if I'm wrong, then I go, oh, okay, I was doing it too fast, or oh, okay, right, that's too long, I can't do that much, right? That's when you really learn. But you have to make that qualitative guess of like, this is what I'm trying to do, and this is why it's important. So what we're trying to do here is one of the most important things that I could ever teach anybody, and that is what I call turnaround, okay? Turnaround is not holding your breath in between the inhale and the exhale. It's just immediate out, right? And it's not energetic, it's as powerful as your breath is just because it is, right? So I'm not going to go, it's not like that, it's, right? Just instant turnaround, right? And that's what we want to get, is just nothing in between. So we're going to go, let's go 2 in, 4 out. So that's easy, right? Here we go. I'll give you, I don't know, I'll just say and then we'll breathe. Ready? And. Good. All right. Now we're going to do 4 in, 4 out. Why? Just different. And we're putting the turnaround in a different spot. But we're thinking always that this is a thing that I might actually use. So while we add time to it, let's also add utility. So I'm never going to breathe like this on the trumpet, right? My embouchure is way too far away from where I need it to be to turn it around. So instead, I want to start, if I'm going to take 4 counts, I'm going to make it into an embouchure that's 93% where it needs to be to play, at least, right? And then the air turnaround can activate that last 5 or 7%, right? So I can go, right? And that's an embouchure I might actually use. It doesn't even have to be like, I'm not playing the trumpet yet, but just something close, right? Something that has these muscles activated. Otherwise, what am I doing? All right, so here we go. 4 in, 4 out, or maybe 8 out. Yeah, 4 in, 4 out. That's fine. And just try to form your embouchure as we get closer to the top of the breath, and don't sacrifice the turnaround. Ready? Ready, and. One more. Good. All right, so that's a little different, right? We probably don't do that very much. But now we've got perfect turnaround, hopefully, and we've got something that's kind of close to an embouchure that we might use. Yeah? Okay, so let's use that embouchure. I did say that that we should rest a little more than we play. That was 2 minutes. So as we get ready for the next part, I'm going to skip mouthpiece buzzing for now. I do mouthpiece buzzing every day. Well, as you saw, I do multiple mouthpiece buzzings, and I end with mouthpiece on the up sound, which is this device from Stomvy that's too expensive. The upside, it has like a case that goes around it that's quite honestly a little phallic, so I don't like it. This is not the little thing that comes with it. That's here somewhere. There it is. Yeah, it has this little like thimble that goes on the end of there. But I found out what this thing is called, and so I found other ones that have different resistances. And I can tell you, this is called a solenoid muffler. and it's like for when you have hydraulics on your car, so you can, you know, go up and down. This tells it how much air it can inhale or exhale in the solenoid unit. And so this is this would go slower than this one. Anyway, yeah, I do mouthpiece buzzing a lot. I think the goal of mouthpiece buzzing is to get your tongue position sort of into the right spot so that your air instantly causes vibration to happen. So this helps me do it. I'll give you a taste of that. It's just, you know, something to put some resistance into the mouthpiece. Because I don't find that it's as useful open. But it can be useful for other things. If you tighten and loosen your lips a lot to play up and down, mouthpiece is your friend. And again, maybe that's a goal that you have. I would like to tighten and loosen my lip less while I play the trumpet. Okay, well then you should do mouthpiece buzzing every morning, right? Because that's going to help you. And in that case, I would do sirens, right? Because that's going to show you where your break is, and maybe pressure is your enemy instead. Mouthpiece buzzing will help that too. So and whatever your teacher says, right? If your teacher says, oh yeah, you should do mouthpiece buzzing every day, well then make it useful, right? Give it a vector of quality, and then gain from it. But right now we're not going to do that. Okay, that was a little longer. What we are going to do is some more crazy stuff that nobody does. Because who doesn't want that? Okay, so your B-flat trumpet, get that put back together if you didn't already. And hopefully you can all take out your second valves. But don't get rid of them. Put them back in on the bottom. Right? That's what you're going to do. So that the top one is out. And what this is going to do is vent the valve through the extra little macaroni noodle piece when you push down the second valve. And that's going to be approximately a G. Right? It's going to be a little bit sharp of a G. And I even pull out sometimes a little bit for this. But anyway, now, what are we looking for from this? What's our quality vector? Well, I want to breathe. I want that perfect turnaround that has that embouchure built into it that we just worked on, right? And this time I want to blow into the horn so that it gives me back the note. I don't want to go into the trumpet and make it amplify that. I don't think that's really how it works. I want to blow into the trumpet and have that, like I said, that bottle pressure, that back pressure, that reflection. I want that to give me back the note, right? So in other words, I blow in, nothing happens. The compression builds up in the horn, it pushes back on my lip, and that presses my lip together and that activates the response, okay? So that just means the same thing we already did. We're going to do a breath attack, right? But this time we'll have a little more muscle involvement than we did on that initial B, because now we have a vector. We're going somewhere with this, right? And we have a place we came from. We have turnaround and we have embouchure already figured out. So it'll sound something like, yeah. And this is a version of lead pipe buzzing, right? Except I can just let go and find out what sound my lead pipe would make if I wasn't doing the lead pipe. It's just that easy. Okay? So that's what we're going to do, and we'll do it with the metronome on about 90, I guess. And we'll do just four on, 4 off, right? That way we can see. Alright? Here we go. So, we want the most sound for the least amount of effort. Least amount of air effort, right? This effort's okay. This effort's okay, but we don't need a ton of air. Otherwise, you're going to overblow. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2. You can only do about that much. Let's do it again. See if you can last longer by playing with less air, but don't play softer. Just do it with less air. Okay? 1. I'll give you 1, 2, and then we'll breathe for 4. So 1, 2. All right, good. Now, we've got some sound happening, right? This is good. What's next? Carlos isn't allowed to answer. We could put it back together, but we could do one more thing on this before we put it back together, actually. When you play, what's the most disruptive thing to your sound? Like if I'm playing up and down, let's see. Alright, there was no disruption there, but what about... Tonguing is the only real disruptor, right? If I slur, my sound continues almost always. But if I tongue, well then it's literally a disruption in the sound, but also I can be good or bad at that, and it can disrupt more or less, right? So let's try to add in the tongue. When I tongue, I don't fully anchor tongue like Jens does. I do like a almost anchor tongue. So instead of going t-t-t or t-t-t like that, I put my tip of my tongue on the tip of my teeth. So it is anchor tonguing, but just barely. And then I screw that up a lot, and that's when I sound real bad. So don't be like me. But whatever kind of tonguing you do, we want it to not be explosive. I say plosive a lot because it makes sense with like, you know, plosive like P's and T's on a microphone. They make it go for a second. We don't want that feeling of like, we don't want explosive tonguing. We just want real even, like non-disruptive tonguing that still actually is tonguing, right? So we'll do it with the metronome again. Oh, I didn't start the timer. Well, we'll do it anyway. So it'll be like this. Breath attack to start, all right? Just like that, right? Back and forth. Yeah? There we go. Breath attacks to start, and I also don't tongue on the change, if that helps. 1, 2. We'll do that one more time. Let's introduce another note too. You can also do D on this lead pipe. By 2 and 3 is D, and 1 and 3 is D, obviously, right? And that way you're bypassing the valve. It's a little more coordination, but it's a lot harder to tongue on. So let's do that. Ready? Same exercise. 2. Now, how many people are feeling more muscle involvement in their embouchure than normal right now? For sure me. I mean, well, I guess not more than normal. More than I would have otherwise. If you're not, then you're probably getting really different sounds, and it's hard as a group, but you're probably getting a really different sound on the lead pipe than you are on the trumpet, right? It's usually just sort of go... Where the trumpet sound is kind of acceptable, but a little bit polite. And but the buzz on the lead pipe side is like really weak sounding. So you really want a strong buzz. You really want a good strong sound on your buzz on the buzzing side. And then when you let it go, it should be maybe a little too much, and you can reel it back from there, right? So just one more time. We'll do it on G again. All right. Same thing. 1, 2. On the C trumpet, you can actually do it also. It's better, in fact, on the C trumpet. You can sort of do it through the first valve. I'll show you at the end here. But okay, so let's get on to you can put your horn back together. What have we done? Well, we've set up a good breath. We've set up a good embouchure for that. we've now played the trumpet and gotten a good sound on it, right? That's what you want. So now you have everything you ever wanted. So what haven't we done? Yeah, we haven't moved around at all, right? We've played one note at a time. And normally I would do a whole big set of long tones, right? Real nice leisurely. But this is a masterclass type warm-up, so we're not necessarily warming up. We're learning how to warm up better, I think. And I guess if I had 2 hours, I could sort of explain as we go, and we could have this real nice leisurely sort of we're at the beach, just hanging out, warming up, whatever. I'm getting used to the beach. I've lived in North Carolina 3 years, and I'm like, oh right, I can go to the beach. I grew up here. The beach is not accessible from Kentucky, not easily. Anyway, but yeah, we're all at the beach. We're hanging out. Instead, we're sort of fast tracking a little bit. So I'll show you all my how many people know Violin? Violin's an important book, really smart flexibility book. Of course, you can use the Arbenz book. You can use the Schlossberg book. You can use the Schuberg. I mean, there's a million flexibility books. But the point of it, again, what is my quality vector? What am I trying to achieve when I do these flexibility exercises?
Move from one note to another with a good consistent sound.
And easily, right? I don't want it to be hard to move around. I'll accept hard and really good, but not for long, because then I can't do it all day. But I mean, I can start there and make it easier. What I can't do is start somewhere that sounds terrible and doesn't really work, and then try to make that better. That's a lot harder. So, so I do violin. Does everybody know? Those of you who don't know violin, I'll do bouncing ball, but it's just like G C G, right, and then we go G C G, and then G C G C, and then twice as fast G C G C G. It's real slow. Okay, so all you have to remember is that you repeat the G a lot, and then you'll be fine. So I'll do bouncing ball style, and we'll all play. Here we go. Ready? We don't need metronome. All right, there you go. So all the things we already did, make sure they go into this. 1, 2. F sharp and B. Right, which is just 5 more, right, all the way down to F sharp. C sharp, F sharp, right, and I'll quickly go through the other stuff. That's slow slurs for me, right? So then I want to do fast slurs. I do a thing I call Vince slurs because they're my dad's slur exercise. It's really like you can find it. I forget where this one's stolen from, but called Colin book. But well, he does a bunch of other ones, but. And then you do that in 7 keys. It sounds complicated, but it's irons. It's irons. It's just the second thing in the irons book, done fast, and then you double the speed of the last one of every measure, right? So it's fast slurs. It doesn't matter where you get them. Page 44 of the Arbenz book is great, right? If you can't do page 44 of the Arbenz book, you can't play a lot of stuff. So trust me, just work on that page. It's great. But okay, so now we've worked. We've moved around the horn. We should feel pretty good about most stuff now, right? Even though we haven't played a lot. But let's do one more thing because we have exactly enough time for it, and that is the infamous high range exercise that all my students are like, really? You want me to do that? Yes, I do. This high range exercise goes like this. You heard it a little bit during Jens's class that my dad did. All it is a natural trumpet exercise that insists on two things. First, that you keep your airflow moving, and well, maybe first is more like that you can do a lip trill on top of the staff, and then that you keep your airflow during the whole thing, right? So, but it's kind of the ultimate test of everything we've built today, because first of all, I'm trying to get this reflection to give me the note, right? That's really important. I'm trying not to work hard, like I'm not trying to, I'm using my muscles to set up something that then can stay, right? I'm not using my muscles to change all over the place to get every single note. That's hard. So this is kind of the ultimate test of it. So I'll do it once, and we'll do it together once, or twice, or 3 times. So it goes like this. I'll do it on F sharp. We can all do G instead, because that's a little easier. But you have to do the alternate fingering at the top of the staff. And then after G, it's just the regular fingering, because, you know, it works out. But F sharp goes like this. There's your lip trill. Right? And then there it is. That's your high range. Okay? So, how does that work? Everything we just set up, make sure that it works. Anything else? Don't need it. Right? You don't need you added pressure? Sure. We saw the presentation that proves without a shadow of a doubt that you probably need more pressure to play higher. Yeah. But you counterbalance that with air pressure coming out. How you do that? Well, your tongue position is real important. Your support's real important, right? I'm not blowing a ton harder, but I am blowing, right? So, okay, so the first things first, let's get that lip trill happening, right? So let's just get that. We'll go, da, 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 okay, 1 and 3 for G on top of the staff. And we're just going to go for that lip trill for a while, okay? We'll do it a couple times. There you go. That's good. How many people felt like they had trouble with the lip trill? Yeah, everybody, right? It's like everybody. The best thing I can tell you is this comes with a lot of practice. It took me years and years and years to just get the lip trill, but I was also like 6 and 7, so it's not going to take you years. Look at page 44. That's if you have the new Tom Hooten, Jen Murata Arben's book, it's page 40. Still might be 44 actually. The page 44 in the original Arben's book, number 22, is the faster and faster, just on 2 notes, right? After that, number 23, which is still on page 44 in the regular Arben's book, is this one, right? It goes, right, that one. So those 2 together are really important. In fact, the end of number 22 is. So again, if you can't do that, that's where you go for this. All right, let's try it again. Let's try G on top of the staff, lip trill. All you want to do is rush your air past, hold the really good embouchure that you've already set up today, and then let your tongue find the 2 notes, right? What Jens said was really important. You're blowing in between the 2 notes, and if your tongue goes a little higher, it gets the top note. If it goes a little lower, it gets the bottom note. This doesn't change. Your lip doesn't change, right? The position is one position. All right, here we go. Anybody do a little better? Yeah, good. So keep working on this, right? I know it sounds crazy, but this is really the key to unlocking the high range, easy high range. It's still, effortful, but not traumatic high range, let's say, right? All right, so let's do it one more time. This time we'll do A flat, just because we can. And for anybody who wants, if you can't do the lip trill, just keep trying to do the lip trill, right? I just want you to, when we breathe, so it'll be da 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 yeah, yeah. And then we'll do, and it's a scale, right? Da 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 da. Except in the middle of every note, there's the next higher note, right? Da 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 da. Right? That's what we're doing. So if you conceptualize, that's what my dad was talking about. The middle note is the highest note, but musically you can't goose it. You have to go da 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 da, right? Because that's the scale. Okay. So anybody who wants to try that with me, you're welcome to do it with me. I do it twice, and then I do a rip up to the high note and all the way back down to the low note. Okay? If you can't do the lip trill, just breathe and come right back in and try to do the lip trill more. Okay? And then if you want to rip down at the end, that'd be good. Okay, here we go. A flat. All right. Experiment with this, but whatever you do in your warm-up, as my sort of closing statement, make sure that there's two things I really want you to think about, and I know we didn't do as much maybe playing warm-up stuff as most warm-up classes would normally entail, but I think everybody kind of knows how to warm up, and if you don't, well then you didn't go to enough classes this week, because there's already been a lot of good warm-ups that people have shared. So instead of that, I want you to think about the qualitative vector that each thing that you do is actually trying to get you, right? Don't just do something mindlessly because it helps you feel better about your playing. Do things that help you play the way you want to play and get the things out of your playing that you want, and then do them. Make sure you rest enough to do them successfully, right? My numbers are incontrovertible that I play less than half of the time. Even when it's bad, I play less than half of the time. That's like still not good enough, right? So make sure you're paying attention to how much you play and not doing damage to yourself, and that everything you do has a purpose. So that's my time. Thanks for listening.